in my experience working in this field now for a long time, I don't know of any period as exciting but as worrisome as the period we're in. And it's about our programs, and it's about our research, and as we reminded ourselves today, it's about people who heard it. And so you have lots of things to talk about, lots of important work to do while you're here, I hope, in continuing nice weather in our city. I'm also pleased, Tom, that you and Mike have done, and others too, Adana and others, such a good job in getting people here that it's too big a group for the Rockefellers. So we have to have you here in the hotel. I'm impressed by that. And join Tom on behalf of the Institute. Tom's a wonderful colleague that reads here. And in my paper, I'm going to just cite my paper, I'm not going to present it. I mentioned Tom's work, Green's work, and our work together. I prepared a paper because I was on the program for tomorrow. I would have spent more time presenting it, but now you're already supposed to be in coffee. So I'm going to be brief and mention my paper, and I brought copies. I welcome you to take a copy. Mark Marchand in the back of the room. Mark can get copies, works at the Institute as our communications officer, if you would like to read copies of the paper, and I'll give you a précis of the paper. I begin the paper by saying, and Larry D. reminded me of this, for the last, I don't know, 6 years, 7 years, maybe 6, I've been responsible for point-counterpoint exchanges in the APAM Journal of Policy Analysis and Management, JPAM. And I'm pleased, Larry was one of the authors, over the years to have done 15 of these, and that'll be, the 15th will be my last one, and that's still in the pipeline, but anyway, we've done 15. And one of them, I took the liberty as the editor, and I had this in mind all along, to do an exchange with Robin Hollister on random assignment and research methods. And I cite this exchange at the beginning of my paper, and Rob and I wrote papers, responded to each other, and then we had readers respond, so there's a lot there that reflects thinking I've done, and work I've done, things I've learned at MDRC with Tom and others here at the Rockefeller Institute. 20 years I've been here at this institute. I'm proud of what we do, and I want our role to continue. So actually, Tom gave me the title, Social Science Methods and Government Effectiveness. And there are copies of the paper here. And I'd be pleased if you would get a copy and read it. The theme of the paper is really an extension of what I wrote about and what Rob Hollister wrote about in the JPAM on random assignment. Because there what we did was discuss with each other in a pretty civilized way, and I thought it came out as a good exchange, how classical random assignment, outcome studies, impact studies should be viewed and should be used and are used in our field. None of you will be surprised to know that the theme of a lot of what I had to say as a political scientist, two political scientists up here, that what we also need to do and care a lot about is institutions. How institutions work and how they don't work. Once you make a policy, what happens to it? So I have as a theme in first sentence of my paper that the proposition of this working paper is that social policy researchers should assign higher priority to institutional study. And in the paper, I go through and give examples, education, the role of the states in health policy. I welcome you to look at the paper. Irene's work after we did our study of the implementation of the Personal Responsibility Act, POWARA, with $3 million support from the Kellogg Foundation. And that's one of the points I make. You need to get out in the country, and you can't do these kinds of studies without critical mass of people, Mike included, who've worked, many people here, on studies I've done, both here and at other places where I've cared about and worked in the same vineyard. In the paper, I begin by saying, and I'm only going to tell you the beginning part, that I want to take a hot subject that we need to know more about in terms of what government does and how programs work. And I refer to financial markets. And I quote from an article in the New York Times that, frankly, I'm surprised they printed, by two people. I'll mention their names. William Cohen, who wrote a book I recently read called House of Cards, about the demise of Bear Stearns, and another man whose name is Sandy, called Sandy Lewis, who's a son of one of the founders and architects of Bear Stearns. You remember Bear Stearns. It's a hard book to read. And I wish I knew more about how financial markets work, what all these instruments were, what different government agencies did this and did that, and didn't do this and do that, and didn't do that for where we are today. So I use this as a jumping off point for saying what government does and how government works is very important for people in our business, and then I go through examples in your field and in our fields of social welfare study areas for implementation and statistical studies, which I think are important to look at now and looking forward. But I joked with Tom the other day, Sandy Lewis, who was the co-author of this article in the Times, which, as I said, I'm surprised they printed it. But they said in this article, we have 12 questions, you might remember it, for the president on what is happening to the economy, because we don't think things are going well. Why isn't the Obama administration working night and day to give the public a vastly increased amount of detailed information about what happens in financial markets? So it is a point that applies to government and to the economy and, of course, to the things we care about and all of us have worked so hard on, social welfare programs and social welfare policy. Well, what I joked to Tom about was that Mr. Lewis actually was indicted. And he was indicted for some kind of financial malfeasance in his own investment banking activities and pardoned by President Clinton. I don't know anything more about this man, except now he's an organic farmer. That's what it says. And so I said to Tom, and Tom helped me write this paper, but it's my paper.